So in this series, I'm going to be playing as early age Mekone. We're using this random map generator for this game. I think it looks quite nice. I really enjoy these forests. So in this game, goth girlfriend playing as Saramadia, friendly dad leading Tianchi, the big kanji symbol in the sky. Can give a pretty good guess as to what that pretender is. It's behind you as Abyssia, Reek Lord, Pan, Derp Thought, as Agartha, Hansi, Kailasa, me, the Black Hand, as Mekone, the Wishmaster, playing as Ubar, a recently released nation, the Fire Kraken, leading Atlantis, and finally John Cena, who's come down into the ocean to lead the undead. So something interesting in this game is that the score graphs are turned on. Can't see them, of course, because it's only turn 1, but they are turned on. So this will be a bit of a different game than normal. We're playing as Mekone. I like the aesthetic of Mekone, but they're not a particularly strong nation. You've got these 4 human troops, and they kind of all suck. The Peltasts are good with javelins only because they're cheap, and these hoplites are okay with 17 protection, but they both suffer from the same problem, and that's their morale is terrible, so they're always going to run away. And you get these cool giants, but you can only recruit so many of them a turn. And your, 2 non-cap mages are bad. They're okay, they're just kind of worse versions of mages that already exist. You're paying for their extra HP and their Inquisitor. They're just not very useful. Okay for researching, but there's better stuff. And then you have a bunch of really cool cap-only mages, but that's the problem, is you just have too many cap-only mages. You don't know what to spend your turns on, because they're all really, really important, except maybe this guy's the least important, but he's still good. He's still a great combat mage, just out of the box. Our starting army is just a bunch of these bad human troops. And it's going to be a little rough to expand. This is the ocean, by the way. 1 water nation spawned on each side, and interestingly enough, there is a throne smack dab in the middle, so if they want to go at each other, they have to clear this out or take over the land nearby. In a straight-up 1v1, Atlantis should absolutely pummel Therados, effortlessly brush him aside. The only way Therados would have a chance is if he took an Awake Expander. Not hiring the mercenaries. A fun feature about Mekone is every turn they just natively gain unrest on their forts. And there's nothing you can do about it. This unrest generation occurs after patrolling is done, so you'll always have a little unrest on your forts that you can't get rid of. For expansion, I'm recruiting a bunch of these Peltasts because in mass numbers, and you can really mass them out since how cheap they are. Their javelins are very efficient at cleaning stuff up. And these geriatrics are not particularly great for anything except research, but they do have 30 leadership, and they do have Taskmaster 1, so in some practice games I did with Mekone, I thought I could try expanding with these guys. So that's sort of my ideal, is taking my starting army, and then taking this Peltast army plus geriatric, and having this go hit a province. And as for turn 2, got a lot of proclamations. I sent a message to everyone saying brotherhood, unity, peace. And Therados said, vote Hillary Clinton as your underwater nation leader. So, very importantly, we need to review the prophet titles. Garbage player. Trash player. Shaka Zulu, okay. Sounds good. Terrible player. Terrible player. Awful. Garbage player. Is I don't think that's... I think this is stupid. I don't think that counts. Obviously, very high IQ, very handsome. How embarrassing. Adolf Hitler. Well, at least one person in the game, apart from me, renamed their... Oh, Tianchi did too. Skrillex Actual. That's a good one. No one else did. Everyone else just let their pretenders' names sit. So, yes, I'm going through with my expansion strategy. Here I have this army just on a big dumb hold and attack command while my prophet blesses their courage a little bit because they need it. And here I just have a line of peltasts, the commander spamming Earth Grip just in case there's some hidden cavalry here. I could conceivably go for this province, it looks pretty easy. Otherwise, making an E4 because every year you get a pop kill event in your capital and you need one of these guys there to make the whole event sequence trigger. Otherwise you get screwed. And you can never go wrong with these Gigante hoplites. They're a pretty excellent unit. High protection, really high protection for the early age. See, Tianchi rushed out a province, blind expansion on turn 1. So going from the titles and also talking to their players, getting info, this is the pretender chassis I came up with for Sarmatia. I'm not sure that this is entirely right. I think the guy has 3 luck, actually, and not 3 magic. But otherwise, this is pretty much... I did not know exactly what his bless was. But the Vampire Queen is pretty scary. Invulnerability 25, resistant to blunt slashing, regeneration. She's immortal. Even if she dies, she just comes back. It's a pretty excellent pretender chassis. Yeah, I mean, this is pretty scary. Definitely scary. And she is awake. And this is Tianchi's god, the Earth Serpent, because when he took a province turn 1, it sort of clued me into the idea that he had an awake expander. The reason for Hardskin is not just for the natural protection boost on his Earth Serpent, which is very, very, very strong, but rather it's for Tianchi, early age Tianchi Sacreds. They get these blessed river people, they get some fire guys and some goat head thing. Anyway, Hardskin makes all of them a lot tougher. And some magic resistance and magic weapons. Primarily, I think if anyone's taking magic weapons, it's to have some ability to fend off Ubar and Therados. Because without magic weapons, you're sort of screwed. And of course, this is early age Machaka's god. This is a straight copy-paste hack job of Attica's Machaka Pretender build, and the titles line up with this perfectly. It may be slightly different. He may have production 3, not very threatening, just super scales Machaka. And this is Abyssia's Pretender. I'm not sure why. Oh, I should have added, his god is dormant. For sure, his god is definitely dormant. But yeah, I don't know his bless exactly, but these scales are accurate for the most part. Maybe he has production 3 with his dormant, and he went higher into fire and blood, or maybe more candles. Anyway, this pretender doesn't seem very useful. Abyssia already has super high fire and blood. They don't need more blood hunters, they don't need high fire access. Abyssia can kind of get away with death scales, because their death scales in early age count for half. So Death 3 is effectively like Death 1.5, which is not as bad, but the same is true for Growth. Like their Growth 3 would only count as Growth 1.5, so it's considerably less good. So it makes sense that they would want to go for Death just to get the extra points. But I don't really know what they're spending those points on. It's not like this chassis is anything special. He's not special at all. I believe this is his chassis, specifically. Pretty sure this is what it is. This is what he paid his extra points for. A lot of attacks on this dragon. Definitely a lot of attacks. Seems pretty scary. And this is Pangea's Pretender dormant, so he doesn't get the Super Incarnate buff until year 1, but it kind of makes sense, you know. That's probably about the time as Pangea you want to be starting your first war. So with this, his White Centaurs are super powerful with Berserker, and the Blood Bond means they'll all be Berserking almost immediately. Very resistant to everything. Magic weapons for ghosts. Blood Surge just to make them better at killing. Otherwise, just a Rainbow Pretender. And trash scales, light them on fire. It's pretty scary Bliss. And this is Agartha's. This kind of makes sense. You know, it's good to have a lot of resistances to everything. It's always solid to have sacreds to fall back on that are just resistant to everything. But early age Agartha's sacreds aren't, well, okay, you'll see when we actually start playing. Basically, this dude doesn't make the Olms, he makes the pale ones, the guys with the big dumb spears, which I think is just a mistake. Like, they hit hard, but in mass they're just worse than a massive army of Mind Blasters. If you want to see Mind Blasting Olms be put to great use, there is a great series by Attica called Antlia, and in that series there is an early age Agartha, who uses the great Olms to a lot of use, and they seem pretty unstoppable. But this guy isn't making them, so I don't know, maybe he's just retarded. And this is Kailas's god. Thunder weapons are spooky. He doesn't actually have magic weapons, I don't think. I think he took Farcaster. Anyway, thunder weapons pretty spooky, but definitely a meme, you know, going for the thunder weapon archer Kailasa build. Kailasa has a lot of attacks on their sacred units, and they can recruit a sacred unit in all their forts. So they can definitely get a lot of value out of thunder weapons. This Pretender says he can teleport, but it's not actually true teleport. It's not magical step movement where you can interrupt things. It's just like 100 map move. So this is Ubar's god. Presumably something jumped out at you immediately as soon as you looked at this, and that is that his god's imprisoned. Which makes sense if you want high scales on a Rainbow Pretender or something. However, Ubar starts with less magic gems on his capital, or rather Ubar starts with less magic gems on his capital than any other nation, until their Pretender wakes up. Once Ubar's Pretender wakes up, they get more magic gems, they get extra money, and they get access to probably the best commanders in Dominions 5 that you can recruit out of a capital. Absolutely insanely busted mages. So why did this guy go imprisoned? Presumably because he didn't read anything about his nation, and just picked imprisoned because he wanted scales. This is what I believe Atlantis' Pretender is. He named it Firekraken, so I sort of at first thought he was kind of dumb and made a Kraken Pretender, but I don't think that's true. I think since his titles all seem to line up with these paths of magic, I think he went with this sort of bless. Perhaps not in Hardskin, he went for a more reasonable Earth Bless, considering he's imprisoned. But otherwise, it looks like it scales Atlantis, which makes sense. I don't think you need an Awake Pretender to assassinate a Therados. And this is Therados' god. Scales are just completely down the toilet, with huge candles and lots of magic and luck. This is all about getting gems and getting massive research from your forts. Therados, much like Archaecephaly, has sloth researchers, so going sloth is actually a bonus for them in some ways. And they get troops by free spawn, so they don't have to worry about resources and whatnot. And this just gives them a lot of resistance to everything. So I'm not going to show my Pretender god, but you'll see him when he wakes up. We had 2 battles this turn. So here I have my Geriatric and his Peltasts. He's not casting Earth Meld because the enemy troops are out of range. And you can see that Peltas did pretty good there, but not particularly impressive. They had a massive numbers advantage. Here I am attacking with my Prophet army. So a neat thing about the Helots is they are formation fighters, so you can stick a bunch of them in one square, which definitely does add to their killing ability. Same thing goes for the Gigantes, they're also formation fighters. So Mekone is unique in that way that they're giants. Unique in that the way their giants can fit two in a square. Going up against some rival Helots here. It even says these guys are less skilled than their Mekonian models. But in practice, it's not actually true. They're precisely as effective. They're a little slower. Yeah. Otherwise, they're definitely not less effective. They're exactly the same. One brave Peltas trying to take on all these men by himself. We would crush them with some pretty bad casualties. Lose a lot of our Echidromos. A couple hoplites and a Peltas go down too. But that's alright. These guys have very low protection. They don't really have the staying power of the hoplites. So a great turn 3, taking 2 provinces. This swamp had 10 militia in it the previous turn, so I'm trying with all of these Peltas for it. And these guys I'm sending to hit the Ko-Oni, mainly because I think the extra protection of the hoplites will keep me alive. And I have this E4 that I recruited. He random air, which means he is practically useless for most things. Without gems or something else to boost him, he's fairly useless. So I'm having him go to site search. And I'm recruiting a Locos and a bunch of more Peltas, and I'm going to send them as an expansion army. So here we have turn 4, Kailasa finally proclaiming a prophet the 5th hand. And here I have Peltas going up against a small number of militia and light infantry. There is, however, a Azure initiate here. He does have a single water gem. Let's see the Peltas actually rout the light infantry. And we win this battle too. So pretty good victory for this army so far, taking 2 provinces with very minimal casualties. And here we're going to fight in the caves. So as predicted, there's not that many Ko-Oni here, and their stats are really bad. Like, with a protection rating this low, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to pierce through my thick hide. But there are a lot of them. However, there is a demon priest here who just happened to random death 1, and he just so happens to have some death gems. So he is now raising skeletons. And skeletons are a lot more intimidating, doing a lot more damage, it being slashing. So now suddenly there's a lot more enemies for us to fight. Yeah, we get repelled. You can see that the Ko-Oni are not actually doing very much damage at all. Like you can see here, look. Ko-Oni attack, blah blah blah. It's all just a bunch of 0 damage hits. And then the Long Dead gets in for 6. So, unfortunate. We lose our Prophet. Kane is slain, and we lose our first starting expansion army, which is pretty terrible. And half of the retreating troops died on the way out, too. So now we just have a few hoplites sitting over here in this province. At this point, the mercs are being hired by Kailasa and Saramatia. I don't know why he's hiring city guard. These guys are just militia. I guess to act as a buffer. Anyway, I'm sending this army over here to fight 60 bear tribe. I think it was 40 last turn, so it can't be much more than 60. With this many peltasts, I'm hoping that maybe I can just rout them, because about half the bear tribe are going to be fighters. Oh no, these guys are all javelinists. Alright, never mind. I'm just hoping for a rout with this many javelins coming down. And frankly, the Gigantes are pretty tough, so hopefully we can do something with them. And I'm taking this army of peltasts and going down here to fight some monkeys. Marcadas are not very threatening. Peltasts should very easily be able to clean them up. And since I lost my starting army, I'm making more Gigantes, because these guys are really great for expansion. Very durable. With my starting scout, I've found Kailasa over here, too, so we're very close to each other. Only 3 provinces separate us. And Kailasa, out of all the nations in the game, probably one of the better ones to be next to. They do have thunder weapons, which is scary, especially against my Gigantes. If I don't have an overwhelming number of them, I could get destroyed by the paralyzing effect of thunder weapons pretty badly. But so far, it seems Kailasa is being a little meager in his expansion. He is not taking anything in his cap circle, except presumably for 131, because if we go look at the score graphs, we can see the dude is got 2 provinces over here is being overlapped with Atlantis. So, and Tianchi is really just racing to the top of the province game, and so were we, until we had our little misstep here in the caves. This will be the final turn of the video. So here I am, a big line of peltasts with 1 locos against all these bear tribe. See, some of these guys have hatchets, and they're pretty... they hit hard. And then you have these ones with javelins. Panic being cast on my peltast, definitely not a good thing. Yeah, these guys were holding for way too long. I have them scripted to go attack rear, but it seems like the battle's going to be over. The peltasts are just going to win the day. As half of the bear tribe are running, leaving only the javelins left. Oh, this is definitely not an attack rear, but... yes, the Gigantes come in to sweep all the glory at the last moment when the battle is already over. In the 2 woods without taking many losses at all. Lucky us. A lot of bear warriors getting killed. And here we are hitting Marcadas. Still have a healthy line of peltasts, and there are a lot of Marcadas here, but Marcadas are a pretty, pretty flimsy unit. And these ATV infantry are also not very threatening. They have no armor, just a tiny little shield, and then you have these archers, also not threatening. But there are a number of them. A little bit more than the scouting report said there would be. Anyway, the javelins just maul these monkeys. However, we're getting pelted by rocks, and it's not going super hot. We actually don't have that many peltasts left here. They're just like 18, 19. Now I have to fight their actual infantry. We do kill their commander. Their commander gets assassinated down there. Well, one of the 2 commanders. And here are peltasts split up, some of them wasting their time chasing running Marcadas. And that's when we morale check and fail. I'm not sure if I could have won this battle if I had the Peltas all attacking the infantry, but I think it's possible. Anyway, the geriatric runs out of there, leaving his Peltas brothers. Leaving his Peltas slaves, and we get half them killed. But we did a number on the Marcadas here. They were all wiped out. A lot of Atvi infantry slain. We did kill a chieftain. I guess there was one more hiding. Thankfully, the geriatric retreated, along with most of my troops. Some of them abandoned the cause. And he picked up a fun affliction, a disease. So he is not long for this world. I've spotted over here lizard warriors, so I'm immediately taking my army to try to snipe these, because I really, really don't want Kailasa to know that they're here, and I really want to get them as soon as possible. Peltas do pretty good against lizard warriors, since they are unarmored. A single javelin toss can mutilate them badly. But you gotta have enough Peltas to throw their javelins in the first place. I'm thinking I have enough, but we'll see. Losing 2 expansion battles already is pretty crippling, so things are not going very good in Mekone. We have cleared out most of our cap circle, but this province has a lot of deer tribe, and that's kind of worrisome. We got another useless, stupid air random, E4, so I'm just sending him out to site search. And I'm recruiting a polemarch in my capital. These are a very strong cap-only mage. They've got good equipment, good magic paths, but they're still really expensive. I'm going to have this guy lead a bunch of Gigantes out and try to take some provinces. And that's going to be the end of this part.